Hi, today's biography is going to be about Alexander Graham Bell, a famous inventor. Alexander Graham Bell lived from 1847 till 1922. He was an inventor who changed American life forever. Always fascinated by sound, he began his career as a teacher of deaf children. Then he began working full time on his inventions, and in 1876 he invented the telephone. Throughout his life, Bell continued to work on different inventions, and he continued to find ways to help deaf people. Let's learn more about Alexander Graham Bell. Do you like to talk on the telephone? Today we have cell phones. Did you ever wonder who invented it? That person is Alexander Graham Bell. Let's keep reading to learn more about this great inventor. Alexander was born in Scotland in 1847. His family called him Alec for short. Alec's father was a teacher who helped deaf people learn to speak. Alec's father wanted him to study science. They're studying. Alec's mother lost her hearing as she grew older. She used an ear tube to help her hear. Miss Bell was an artist and a piano player. Like his mother, Alec learned to play the piano. Miss Bell liked to listen to Alec play the piano, so she placed her tube close to her ear and the other side connected to the piano box. Alec became fascinated by sound. This means he was so intrigued, so interested, very curious about sound. He even studied his pet dog's barking. This helped him learn how sounds are made. Alec could feel sound vibrations when his dog barked. When he was a teenager, Alec and his brother built a talking machine. It was shaped like a person's head. They could make the machine say simple words like mama. Alec's brother would blow air through the tube, and Alec would move the machine's lips to make it speak. When Alexander was older, he got a job at a school in Boston. Like his father, he taught deaf people how to speak. Alexander was a great teacher, but he still wanted to invent things. So Alexander showed his students how to make sounds. In Boston, Alexander met a woman named Mabel Hubbard. Mabel was deaf. Later, Mabel and Alexander got married and had children. Alexander stopped teaching so that he could work in his inventions. He wanted to create a machine that could send sounds through a wire. Send sounds through a wire. Alexander will work on his inventions until late at night. He hired a man named Thomas Watson to help him. Inventing was hard work, and sometimes the two men felt like giving up, but they kept going. Thomas began working in Alexander's laboratory. I bet they did many different models and tried them and tested which model would work best in transmitting sounds from one side to another. On March 10th, 1876, something incredible happened. Alexander was in one room. Thomas was in another room. He was in one room and Thomas was in another room. Thomas was in another room, but they could hear each other's voice through the machine. Huh. The invention was working. Alexander called his invention a telephone. Tele, because it transports, it moves. And phone, because that comes from sound. He entered it in a contest at the World's Fair in Philadelphia. At the fair, he won a prize for his invention. The Emperor of Brazil was at the World's Fair. He tried Alexander's new telephone. I can't imagine what other inventions they had in that fair. Soon Alexander was famous. People all over the world wanted to find out about his invention, including the President of the United States and the Queen of England. In 1878, Rutherford B. Hayes became the first United States president to use a phone. Whom did he call? Alexander. At first, the telephone could be used only between places that were close together, but by 1915, it was possible to make calls all the way across the country. In 1892, Alexander made the first call between New York and Chicago. Alexander continued to invent many things, such as new kinds of planes and boats. He also continued to find ways to help deaf people. That is something that never changed. This plane was one of Alexander's inventions. It has an engine. Alexander worked hard to make people's lives better. People will always think of the telephone as his greatest invention. The next time you call someone, remember Alexander Graham Bell. Let's see his models. The first one was in 1876. And this was the one that he tried from room to room with Watson. The next one, 1919. Interesting. You will pick this part and put it on your ear, and you will speak through this other side. And this part, you will put your finger and you will dial one number at a time, letting go of the disc to mark the numbers. Then it evolved to this one right here, 1928. This time you will pick up this part. This will go on your ear and you would speak on the other side. There is that cord and the dial. to dial the number. Then it moves on to 1964, which is a very similar model of the 1928. The difference is it's a coiled cord, not a dial disc anymore. Now these are buttons that you will immediately push to dial the number. You will take less time. In 1992, there is the cordless phone, which will also evolve into a cell phone. Good. So these are the 5 telephones from different times, different models that Alexander Graham Bell continued to evolve. Very famous inventor.